Kaya nga maraming holidays na minsan pa nga nire-require yung mga students na mawala ng pasok, di ba?
Ikaw naman kasi dyan, kanina ka pa subat ng sabat. Uy!
Hey! What's up mga kapodcast? Welcome to the coolest history trip ever, Rizal's Quest, Illuminating Legacies and Timeless Wisdom. I am your host, Zaki Ortega, and I am with Miss Sherlene Anbanyes, and we're about to embark on a super Rizful journey through the life and works of our national hero, Jose Rizal. Get ready to buckle up for a memorable ride.
Yes, we're here to dive deep into the incredible journey of Dr. Jose Rizal, a name that resonates through the halls of Philippine history. From his early life to his profound works, we're unpacking it all. We're about to spill the tea.
Spill the tea? T-E-A as in tea? Eme, taray naman at may pa-unpacking pa.
Siyempre naman ganun talaga. Just think of it as history meeting modernity. We'll connect Rizal's experiences and ideas with today's world. Kasi nga, magta-time travel tayo. But, of course, with a twist. Kasi have you ever wondered how a 19th century hero could inspire your 21st century life? Well, if you don't, stick with us and you'll find out.
Yes! Oh, alam niyo ba guys, na Rizal was not just a hero, but a jack of all trades. Oh, writer na, doktor pa, linguist pa, and the list goes on. Parang siyang ultimate influencer ng panahon niya, di ba?
Yes, very true ka dyan. And speaking of influencers, this podcast is perfect for all who are listening. Especially para sa mga millennials and Gen Zs na ang tingin sa history ay boring. Kasi trust me, it's not your typical class discussion. We're here to make history lit. We'll be spicing things up with kwentos, trivias, at syempre mga hugot lines na J-Riz ang pag-atake. Huay!
So, what's in store for today? Well, we'll start with Module 1, where we'll unravel the meaning, purpose, and value of studying the life and works of Rizal. Here, we will be studying Rizal's introductory significance, unlocking the ultimate achievement in Pinoy history, giving us mad inspo, and helping us understand the OG hero vibes that shaped our nation's identity.
Next naman, we'll segue into Module 2, where things get even more exciting. Get ready to spill the tea and chika about Rizal during Spanish colonization, for we are about to smash and reveal all the facts on the social condition in the Philippines back in the day.
True that, because this segment is about to serve you some major Rizal chica and drop some knowledge bombs as in boosh, ganon, during the Spanish colonization era in the Philippines.
Pero hoy, ano yung historical note? Medyo ang dark naman ng pabomba mo, sis. Pero ayun, as for the next topic, Module 3 is all about the search for truth, knowledge, and the campaign for reforms. We're not just talking about dates and facts here. We're diving deep into Rizal's passions, his struggles on his Euro trip, and the fiery realness that rocked his La Liga Filipino connections. We'll explore how his actions still echo in our lives today.
And let's not forget about Module 4, where Jose Rizal's two phenomenal novels, No Le Tangere and El Filibusterismo, will have a comeback to our studies. As if parang bumalik lang tayo sa ating mga high school days. But this time, we will uncover its deep context and not just its storyline. Sabi nga ng mga dalubhasa, they're powerful mirrors that reflect the society of the Philippines under the Spanish rule.
Uy, I agree And add ko na rin na both of the aforementioned novels were a shout-out to the social cancer afflicting the Philippines. And El Filibusterismo, or The Reign of Greed, was even more radical, showing the darker side of the struggle, kumbaga. Rizal's characters, from the noble Crisostomo Ibarra to the tragic Sisa, are not just fictional. Kasi, they represent the real faces of Filipino society back then.
And finally, we're gonna cap it all off with Module 5, where we'll embody Rizal's ambition, nationalism, courage, and excellence.
So mga sis, let's settle down. Relax and maybe get yourselves a cup of tea or coffee kung saan kayo komportable. And again, with Rizal's Quest, it's not just your ordinary history lesson, as we'll show you how being knowledgeable about history is indeed interesting. We'll deliver the juiciest chica and Rizal realness. It's gonna be one epic ride. First, we'll kick off with the basics. The meaning, purpose, and value of studying the life and works of Jose Rizal. Kasi syempre, we have to make sense of what we are about to hear. Let's welcome our co-hosts, Aliyah and Celine.
Hello there, listeners. What's up? I'm Aliyah.
And me naman, you can call me Celine. Welcome to our Super Kwela first segment here sa podcast, where we dive into the most interesting topics out there. Starting off sa tip ng iceberg, where we will know the meaning, purpose, and value of studying life and works of Rizal.
You're that Celine, and today, listeners, we have a super exciting topic na medyo serious pero we're gonna make sure na hindi boring. We're gonna talk about the life and works of Jose Rizal. Alam ko you might be thinking, ay, history? Serious ba? Pwede bang chumika na lang ng ibang topic? Pero promise, it's gonna be mind-blowing, no cap.
True that, Rizal kasi isn't your ordinary guy on the 1 peso coin or yung taong laging main character every buwan ng wika. There's so much more to him, and that's why today, we'll explore bakit ba importanteng aralin si Rizal.
Yes, by understanding Rizal's life, we connect with our roots. It's not just about memorizing dates for history class, but feeling the struggles and aspirations of those who stood up before us. Plus, it's super important for for the young ones, yung mga bagets, to know their history. And syempre naman, in this age of social media, mabilis ang spread ng maling info. Like that weird humor about Rizal being the father of Adolf Hitler. Super OA ng sis.
So first things first, let's start with the fundamentals. Jose Rizal being our national hero, he was a writer, doctor, and so much more. Born in 1861, this guy wasn't just smart, he was a total genius, right, Leah?
Yes naman, and according to an article I've read, during high school, he stands like around 5'3". Not our typical big guy, pero grabe ang guys.
Grabe, imagine having some sort of fling from nations to nations. But anyways, why should we, the youth, ang mga kabataan ngayon, even bother about a guy from the 1800s?
Great question. Let's talk about the Rizal Law, officially known as the Republic Act 1425, enacted in 1956 by you know who? Senator Claro M. Recto and Jose P. Laurel. This law requires all schools in the Philippines to teach the life, works, and writings of Rizal. Pero, it's not just about how to remember dates or di kaya yung mga prominent figures and whatsoever.
Yes, and for a fact, it's about understanding Rizal's vision for the Philippines. His ideas on things like nationalism, social justice, and peaceful reform are timeless. Kaya naman in-instill ito sa ating education system for they believe that by studying Rizal, we're keeping the spirit of what it means to be Filipino.
To add na rin, ang kabog kasi college subject na ang Rizal ngayon. It's nice kasi sa sandamakmak na social issues, ngayon we can apply his principles in dealing with those. One main point is that pen is mightier than a sword.
Real, who would have thought that the expose in the form of writing could set our country free? This is why super relevant ng Rizal course. Mas lalong nag-aalab. Nag-aalab. Ang ating nationalism. Diba? It somewhat teaches us na patuloy lang lumaban and as long as tama ang pinaglalaban, right, partner?
Correct ka dyan, sis. Malalaman din natin kung ano ba talaga ang pinaglaban ni Rizal. Although, alam na natin kung ano yung rason. Mas magkakaroon pa tayong mas malalim na knowledge like yung dalawa ng novel. And fun fact, did you know ba na Rizal didn't like the idea of having a war? Even I was surprised. He only wanted a peaceful revolution.
Na-surprise rin ako nung nalaman ko yan. Though, yun nga, kahit against siya sa violence, well, ang laki na naging part niya. Kumbaga, he's once one of the driving forces para sa revolution for independence.
With that, let's dive deeper. Let us move on to the concept of nationalism. Just as Benedict Anderson said, a nation is understood as having a imagined communities. Ano nga ba talaga ang meaning nito?
According nga sa kanya, yung imagined communities ay literal na ini-imagine natin na kilala natin lahat ng tao sa isang nation. Like, dito, yung Philippines. Of course, there are millions of people naman, right? So, we will never meet them or hear of them.
Ano nga ba talaga ang sense nito, partner? Is it like relevant sa Rizal?
Of course, yung dalawang novels ni Rizal ay may significant part sa pagbubuo ng national identity natin as Filipinos. People who read these writings will have a collective sense of identity and solidarity. Kasi nga, na-awaken ang consciousness natin sa mga issues na dala ng Spanish colonization, like injustices.
So, partner, paano ma-apply ang imagined community here?
Just like what I said, may unity ang mga Filipinos na nagbasa ng novels ni Rizal, kahit na hindi sila magkakakilala. Filipinos, despite their diversity, come together under a shared sense of belonging to a nation and collectively be activists, right? With this, hindi lang limited ang concept ng nation sa geography na literal na, kundi pati na rin sa shared culture, history, and symbols.
That's nice. Ayun nga, I have read his 2 novels and it's nice that these literary writings can unite us all Filipinos, kahit nung earlier times pa until now. At kahit saan mang part ang pinanggagalingan nating lahat. Kaya Lodi Kicks ko si Rizal eh.
Tumpak! He is super educated talaga. Like, he was able to study here in the Philippines and sa Europe. Bongga, no? Ayun, he used his bloodline or Indian, a Creole.
True, a Creole nga is defined as a white man of European descent but born and raised in a tropical country. Pero during that time, hindi lang limited dito ang definition. Possible rin na maturingan kong Creole basta ikaw ay influential at mataas ang status mo. An example of this nga ay si Rizal.
Super layo na ng Spanish blood niya, but Creole pa rin siya since he is a landowner. He used this advantage, kaya naging accessible sa lahat ang writings niya. He was so smart for this. And fun fact lang, did you know Chavacano? Yun ay ang Philippine Creole Spanish, the only dialect to have survived the entire Spanish Empire.
Ang galing, never thought na may dialect pala regarding Creole. Going back, just like what we were discussing a while ago, na-expose niya everything about the Spanish government like yung abuse and corruption.
It's nice that aside from exposing everything about Spanish colonization, he also instilled nationalism at the same time. Namulat lahat ng Pilipino, which fueled them to fight for independence.
What a very meaningful discussion, guys. Alia and Celine, grabe yung chikahan yung dalawa. Ang Rizful! Kaya nagkaroon tayong lahat ng introduction about Rizal. At kung bakit nga ba siya mahalagang aralin. Of course, gaya nga ng sabi nila, we have to make sense of what we will learn, as they are not just mere facts.
Alright, listeners, or may I call you time travelers? Are you having fun listening to our informative chicas? If so, dapat lang. Joke lang. Well, syempre, it's our pleasure to make our listeners have fun while we are talking about interesting yet informative topics. So ayun na nga, familiar naman kayo sa pamilya ni Rizal, diba? Kung hindi, don't you worry kasi dito pag-uusapan natin ang historical roots ni Rizal. Miss Elaine and Miss Andrea, pasok!
Okay, so Andrea, what's your quote of the day?
Ignorance is slavery, for the mind reflects the person. A person without one's own mind has lost his humanity. One who blindly follows another else's will is like a beast led by a leash. Oh, Pak, hindi mo kaya!
Hey, Smarty Pan, saan mo naman nakuha yan?
Ay, Ben, hindi ka ba aware sa famous quotations ni Rizal?
Hoy, wag kang ganyan. Big fanatic kaya ako ni Pepe, no? Isipin mo, bawat na, a trained physician with specialization in ophthalmology. Yup, siya yung gumamot sa nanay niya nung nawalan ito ng abilidad sa paningin. So, eto na. Tuloy ko na, eksena ka eh. So, yun nga. Doktor na, dramatist na, essayist, novelist, naturalist, architect, painter, economist, educator, and everything. Name it all, talagang san ka pa.
He must have been raised so well by his family, no? Talagang lahat nasa kanya na.
Oh, absolutely. And since you've mentioned about his family, I think it's time that we trace a bit about his historical roots, Jiba.
Let's begin with his ancestry. Just like the typical Filipino, since our country was colonized, si Rizal ay mixed din. Ganito kasi, predominantly he was a Malayan and was a magnificent specimen of Asian manhood. Rizal's great-great-grandfather on his father's side was Domingo Lameo, a Chinese immigrant from the Fukien city of Changchao, who arrived in Manila in about 1690.
Talagang may wave ng Chinese mestizos back then, no? Like, hindi kompleto ang kwentong kasaysayan without acknowledging the significant contributions of Chinese mestizos to its growth in the 19th century. Not until the Spanish occupation authorities suspected the Chinese uprising and required them to, register in Chinese migration policies.
Well said, Eleno. And to continue the topic, Domingo became a Christian, then kinasal sa well-to-do Chinese Christian girl of Manila, at ito na nga si Ines de la Rosa. And assumed in 1731, the surname Mercado, which was appropriate for him kasi that time, merchant siya ng market, and market in Spanish is mercado. Then yun nga, Domingo Mercado and Ines de la Rosa had a son. At ito na nga si Francisco Mercado, who resided in Binyan, married a Chinese-Filipino mestiza, si Rila Bernacha, and was elected as the gobernadorcillo of the town. Kung tutusin, influential lang ancestors ni Rizal. Then one of their sons, Juan Mercado, Rizal's grandfather, married si Rila Alejandro, a Chinese-Filipino mestiza. Then, just like his father, he was elected as a gobernadorcillo of Binyan. At ayun, Kapitan Juan and Kapitana Cirila had 13 children. Napakarami, no? At ang youngest sa kanila ay si Francisco Mercado, which is
Tatay ni Rizalbe. Siya at si Pasiano ang katakitang lalaki sa family tree ng nuclear family nila.
Yup, tama yan. And then yun, sininong si Rizal noong June 19, year 1861 sa Kalamba. Bukod sa kanila ni Pasiano, lahat ng kapatid nila ay puro babae na. They have 9 girls in the family, kaya siguro solid din ang sibling relationship ni Pasiano at Rizal.
Exactly. Pareho pati silang may ambition para sa motherland natin. Actually, Pasiano witnessed yung just execution of Gombursa, and siya rin ang nag-push kay Rizal to study hard and use his education to defeat the abuses and injustices that the Philippines were facing back then.
Any word about Rizal's father? I'm so curious about him.
Oh yeah, sure. Don Francisco Mercado, who was the youngest of 13 offsprings of Juan and Cirila Mercado, he was once very respected in their town, which actually is my town as well because I am from Calamba, Laguna, and was even their kabesa de barangay. Not until, alam mo na, nag-init ang ulo sa kanya ng mga praile dahil sa pag-question ng kanilang pamilya sa abusive taxation system nila.
Ang ideal talaga ng parents ni Rizal, no? Even his mother na si Doña Teodora Alonzo, she was known to be hardworking, intelligent, and a business-minded woman, and she came from a wealthy family as well. Not to mention, siya din ang unang guro ni Rizal and ang may greatest influence sa character development niya.
Yeah, her parents, Lorenzo Alfonso, used to be a municipal captain, while her mom, Brigida Quintos, was an educated housewife.
Okay, wait. Intrigued din ako sa 9 sisters ni Rizal. Can you tell me some brief info about all of them?
Naku be, I'd love to. So let's start siguro sa pinakaunang nag-asawa, no? Siya si Narcisa Rizal Lopez. She apparently was the confidante of Jose and their brother Pasiano, and she married Antonio Lopez.
Oh yeah, naalala ko nga. How about Olympia Rizal Obaldo and the rest? Isang bagsakan mo na be, gusto kong marinig lahat yan.
Ikaw naman kasi dyan, kanina ka pa subat ng sabat. Uy! But anyways, Olympia married Silvestre Ubaldo and had 3 children, yes, with him. For Lucia Rizal Herbosa naman, siya ang asawa ni Mariano Herbosa.
The name rings a bell, ha? Di ba siya yung hindi nagkaroon ng Christian burial when he died dahil bayaw siya ni Rizal?
Exactly, partner. Nakakalungkot lang talaga kung iisipin mo, ano. But anyway, on to the next girly. Si Maria Cruz Rizal, born in 1855, mother of Mauricio Cruz na naging estudyante at sinasabing paborito pang araw ni Rizal sa Dapitan. Then, again, dito tayo sa medyo malungkot ulit, Rizal actually had a sister who was Concepcion na wala masyadong written records because unfortunately, she died at 3 years old, such a young age, at sinasabi pang sobrang nalungkot si Pepe. So, well, magkasunuran din talaga sila ng age.
Hala, that's so tragic, no?
Then, Josefa Rizal, born in 1865 and died in 1945 because she suffered from epilepsy. Next, si Trinidad Rizal, siya yung nakatanggap naman ng alcohol lump kay Rizal and his written work which was The Last Farewell or maybe mas kilala natin bilang Mi Ultimo Adios, the poem Rizal wrote on the eve of his execution day. Also, fun fact, Trinidad outlived all her siblings kasi she died in 1951.
Kung tutuusin, ang dami talagang na-witness ni Trinidad.
Last but not the least, ang bunsong kapatid ni Rizal, si Soledad Rizal Quintero. She was born in 1870 and married Pantaleon Quintero and they were blessed with 5 children. So now, kapag kasi inaaral natin yung history, I think importante rin na madampian natin yung about sa Katolisismo, landscape of secularization in the Philippines back then. Paano ito naging isang mahalagang aspeto ng ating kasaysayan.
Ayan, so we're going to explore the life and legacy of an influential figure from Philippine history, Father Pedro Pelaez. Sino nga ba siya, Elaine?
Father Pedro Pelaez was a Catholic priest born in 1812. He became a strong advocate for the secularization of Filipino priests and is often called the godfather of the Philippine Revolution.
Hindi lang siya nagtagumpay sa kanyang papel bilang isang pari, Elaine, kundi pati na rin isang guro at leader sa mga pagkilos para sa mga reforma.
Pero hindi lang yan, Andrea. Between 1837 and 1841, Father Pelaez showcased his exceptional drive and talent by competing for various positions such as Cabildo, Magisterial, Canon, and more.
It's impressive how he excelled in different roles, from canonigo penitentiary to chapter secretary, and even serving as a synodal examiner. Pelaez was a true testament of the capability of Filipino priests in ecclesiastical administration.
But it doesn't stop there pa rin. Alam mo ba, despite his numerous ecclesiastical responsibilities, Father Pedro Pablo Pelaez was also deeply involved in education. He also taught philosophy at the Jesuit Colegio de San Jose and delivered lectures na I think ay philosophy and theology at the University of Santo Tomas.
His passion for education didn't go unnoticed. Sa katunayan, inappoint siya ni Gobernador Antonio Obistondo sa isang komite na nag-aaral at nagplano ng mga reforma sa edukasyon sa Pilipinas, which became the basis of the 1863 Decree on Education.
And let's not forget his impact as a preacher. Ang kanyang mga sermon mula 1838 hanggang 1863 ay nagsilbing inspirasyon para sa paglikha ng El Católico Filipino, ang kauna-unahang religious newspaper sa Pilipinas.
He was truly a multi-talented guy, Hindi lang siya nag-iwan ng malaking epekto sa simbahan, kundi pati na rin sa lalangan ng edukasyon at media.
Nidagdag ko lang din, Andrea, his teachings and accomplishments became a driving force for the rights of Filipino priests, inspiring future figures like Father Gomez, Padre Burgos, and even Pasiano, the elder brother of Jose Rizal.
Speaking of Padre Pablo Pelaez Elino, his advocacy for the rights of Filipino priests had a profound impact on the events leading up to the execution of the 3 priests, Jose Burgos, Jacinto Zamora, and Mariano Gomez, after the Cavite Mutiny.
Tama ka dyan, Drea? The aftermath of their execution heightened the Filipinos' national consciousness and identity. Kaya na lamang ni Pasian Rizal and the 3 priests in their pursuit of social justice, dignity, and human rights.
Hala, grabe naman yan, Elaine. So, after that, ano na ang sumunod?
So ngayon pinag-uusapan na nga natin ang Katolisismo at sekularisasyon. Magandang mapag-usapan na rin natin at maghanda ka na rin mapag-usapan natin ang tungkol sa Patronato Real. So do you have any idea kung ano yun?
So, Elaine, let's start by breaking down what exactly Patronato Real means. According to historical records, it was expression of royal patronage, controlling major appointments of church officials and the management of church revenues. This was established under concordats with the Holy See.
Ano namang impact ng system na to sa Spanish Colonial Empire?
Well, Elaine, the resulting structure of royal power and ecclesiastical privileges was pivotal in shaping the Spanish colonial empire. It created a constant intermingling of trade, politics, and religion. One notable case that reflects this intertwining is the rift between the Catholic clergies and Spanish officials in the Philippines.
And that brings us to the Philippines. The tension between the Catholic clergies and Spanish officials actually reached a peak at isa sa mga insidenteng nilalarawan ito ay yung kay Governor Dasmariñas and his audiencia outcasting Archbishops Guerrero and Pardo. So napapatanong tuloy tayo whether meron ba talagang fairlocracy government sa Pilipinas that time. Kasi ang Archbishop ay ina-outcast, agresibong ina-outcast ng Governor Dasmariñas at kanyang audiensya, di ba?
And it's interesting to note that, similar to the situation in America, the Catholic clergy, particularly figures like Father Pedro Pelaez, Father Gomez, and Father Burgos, were vocal against the human rights of the natives. So, how did this crisis in the balance of power get resolved?
So may good side, positive side din kasi itong Patronato Real. So the system played a crucial role in resolving the conflicts between ecclesiastical missionaries and colonial officials. Papal bulls such as the Intercatera of Pope Alexander VI granted the Spanish crown monarch the rights and duties na mag-send tayo ng missionaries to newly discovered lands.
The adaptation of Patronato Real in the Philippines marked a turning point. It had a different application compared to the treatment of American Indians. So the question is, how did it impact the dynamics between the church and the state in the Philippines?
Well, it's a nuanced situation. The Patronato Real in the Philippines has often been equated with the practice of fairlocracy, union of church and state. The question remains though, was it truly a union? Or were there moments of coordination and dichotomy in the political communication between the church and the state?
Great question, Elena. The Patronato Real had a different vibe in the Philippines compared to the American experience. It's like a historical remix tailor-made for more lenient and hospitable Filipinos.
As we wrap up this historical roller coaster, it's clear that the Philippines had its own unique chapter in the story of royal patronage and ecclesiastical dynamics. Father Pelaez, with his multifaceted roles, left an indelible mark on the narrative of Filipino identity.
So it's incredible to see how Father Pedro Pablo Pelaez fought for the rights of Filipino priests and made a big difference in history.
And there you have it, time travelers. Rizal's family, the unsung heroes backstage, shaped our national heroes character. Hats off to them. But before we close the curtain, let's salute Pedro Pablo Pelaez, a true game changer. Now, hold on to your hats. Our next adventure delves deeper into Rizal's quest for truth and Philippine reforms. Join the dynamic duo Miss Josephine and Miss Merle as we unravel the secrets of Rizal's extraordinary life.
To continue our journey towards Rizal's adventures in life, let us take a step back and understand his humble beginnings. I believe that Josephine and Merle have much to say about Rizal's childhood and education.
Tama ka dyan, Ann. Para talaga maintindihan din natin kung paano nahubog si Rizal sa pagiging bayani natin ngayon.
Indeed, home is where it all began. Rizal took his little steps as a gifted child through the guidance of his well-educated parents.
Balita ko, Merl, mayaman daw si na Rizal. Malamang maraming pondo yan. Baka may private tutor agad nung bata sila.
Well, Jo, you're not exactly wrong. He did have his private tutors, pero bago pa ang lahat ng yan, ang unang naging guro ni Rizal ay ang kanyang mama na si Doña Tudora. Grabe, pa lang napaka-main character na agad ang ganap ni kay Rizal. Saka ang powerful ng lahi nila ha, mula ka ninununuan nila.
Diba? Parang ang dami na niya agad nagagawa kahit bata pa lang siya. Pero we can take this as a lesson din. Rizal took all the opportunities and advantages given to him and put it into good use. We as the people who are living in this evolving world should do the same.
I agree, Jo. Rizal is indeed a gifted child. Pero alam mo ba na nakaranas din si Rizal ng bullying?
Hala, totoo ba? Pero alam mo partner, parang walang pagkakaiba noon sa ngayon
True ka dyan. Rizal was eventually assigned to a private school in Binyan where he was tormented due to his smaller height.
May tanong ako partner. If you'll be allowed to study abroad, will you grab it?
Yes na yes, partner. Kahit na mahirap kasi maho-homesick ka, ganun.
Yan ang gusto ko. Yung walang pagdadalawang isip, yes agad. Tulad sa gawa ni Rizal. To be able to grow, you must leave the place you feel is holding you back.
I agree ako. This may not be entirely true today, but it was during Jose Rizal's time. Since napag-usapan natin ang pag-abroad, did you know that Rizal also had an impressive academic career in Europe?
Yes, partner. I've read that Rizal studied medicine. Nag-aral siya ng medicine sa Universidad Central de Madrid and he also studied under Luis de Wecker, the most renowned eye doctor noong time nila.
Ang successful ni Rizal kahit saan siya mapadpad, no? Yan ang tunay na flex. Ito pa nga, Rizal's want to be an ophthalmologist because his mother was suffering from eye problems.
Pero di ba nagka-problema na sila dyan financially?
Oo, partner, he wasn't able to pay the required fee, making him unable to present his thesis. Thus, he did not get his doctor's diploma. Don't worry, partner, because in 1885, he was able to obtain a degree in licentiate in philosophy and letters with an excellent rating.
Dito naman tayo, partner. Aware ka ba na dati pa lang may secret society na?
Tabi, partner, parang teleserye lang ang datingan,
Diba? So, eto na nga, partner. And for our listeners who may not be familiar with the secret society, which is also known as Freemasonry, explain mo, partner.
Well, I would just like to say that Freemasonry is not a secret society, but a society with secrets. It is not a religion, but a way of life. It is not a political party, but a civic movement. It is a regular system of morality characterized by rituals and symbols. These rituals teach members about the society and the less fortunate and address society's problems.
I see. May brotherhood na pala noon, no? Pero di ba si Rizal ay naging member ng Freemasonry noong 1883 when he was just 22 years old?
Yeah, partner, isa sa mga nakilala niya ay si Dr. Miguel Moraita, who was an active in student demonstrations in Madrid. He was a professor of history and a politician who supported the rights of the colonies.
Wait, familiar lang Moraita? Moraita Street!
Yes, ito na nga, para sa mga hindi pa nakakaalam, actually Moraita Street was named after him because in 1884, Rizal witnessed a student protest inside the university involving Professor Miguel Moraita, which may have inspired the arc in his El Filibusterismo novel.
Hala, legit ba?
Legit na legit, partner! Anyway, ayun na nga. They formed a group called La Solidaridad, a newspaper and propaganda movement. And ang goal nila is to expose colonial injustices and demand reforms through articles, essays, and poems.
Di ba partner, mahirap gumalaw dati? Lalo na at nagkaroon na nga ng propaganda movement. For sure, galit na galit ang simbahan at ang government niyan.
Totoo, they were enraged. The church stated that they were heretical and subversive. Tapos grabe ang pag-censor, pag-aresto at pag-deport ng government sa La Solidaridad.
Indeed, that's tragic. They have to go through all of that to fight for our freedom, justice, and human dignity.
And at the end of the day, hindi man natin mabago ang ating kasaysayan, pero sana maging stepping stone ito para makamit natin ang pagbabago.
To continue our journey towards Rizal's adventures in life, let us take a step back and understand his humble beginnings. I believe that Josephine and Merle have much to say about Rizal's childhood and education.
Hello listeners, nandun pa ba kayo? Well, I hope that you're still tuning in into our Rizful Chicas, kasi this is getting way more interesting. In this segment, we will talk about the significant works of Rizal, which are the No Limitang Here and the El Filibusterismo. In order to discuss these fanatic novels by Rizal, let me introduce to you to our wonderful hosts, Miss Jersey and Mr. Joffrey. What are you waiting for? Now, without further ado, let's get started.
And thank you with that, Mr. Zaki Ortega. So ayun na nga, pag-uusapan natin ngayon ang sikat na mga nobela ni Rizal. We're very familiar with these novels naman siguro, no? Kasi for sure, ni-roleplay natin ito nung high school tayo at yung iba pa nga ay pinagawa nila ng summary sa bawat chapter. Which is naging magkaklase nga tayo, di ba, partner?
Oo nga, partner. Naalala ko tuloy yung teacher natin sa Filipino noong high school. So now, let's recall it and samahan nyo kami in search of the historical truth of the past with Rizal. Partner, alam mo ba yung phrase na the pen is mightier than the sword? Si Rizal ang nagpatunay na kahit hindi siya nakipaglaban gamit ang dahas, dinurog niya ang mga kalaban niya gamit lang ang pagsulat ng mga novels, articles, and essay.
So ayos din talaga si Rizal no? Like, biruin mo yun, even though he died in fighting for our independence, nagtagumpay siya sa goal niya, which is to enlighten the society and sa pag-bring up sa Filipinos closer to the truth, di ba? So, partner, siguro without these novels, patuloy pa rin tayong nagpapabulag at nagpapaulila sa mga colonizers. Like, ano ba talaga tong mga novels na to, and why did he name his novels Illuminating and El Filibusterismo? Diba?
Maganda na nung yan, partner. Illuminating is the Latin phrase which means "wag mo akong salingin" or "touch me not" in English. During the Spanish colonial era, he wrote this novel to portray the lives of the Filipino people as well as their protests and sufferings against oppressive authorities. El Filibusterismo, on the other hand, or also known as the Reign of the Grid in English, addresses matters that are crucial to the movement, such as clergy, abuses, racism against the Filipino people, and the need for political reform.
And with that, partner, let's further dig into the historical truth of the past by learning about these novels of Rizal. So, ready ka na ba, partner?
Siyempre no, partner. Ako pa. Ready. Fully charged. Kaya ano pang hinihintay mo? Let's for the go, go, go!
Ang taas naman ng energy natin na yan, partner. So, ayun na nga. Let's start with Noli Me Tangere. Alam naman na natin from the passionate love story of Crisostomo Ibarra and Maria Clara de Sisa na isang inang nabaliw kakahanap sa mga anak niya. But it's not actually all about it. The character's story actually showed deep symbolism of the injustices that were happening at the time of the Spanish colonization. Diba?
You know what, partner? I totally agree with the probable meaning of its title, A Social Cancer, as it depicts the abuses and injustices committed by the Spanish authorities, clergies, and even the defects of Filipinos. Thinking about it, social cancer is still evident in our nation. Ang hirap gamutin nun. But partner, I'm curious and I want to know the behind the scenes of how Rizal wrote Noli and what was his inspiration in writing it.
I think he got inspired from a book which is yung Uncle Tom's Cabin, and it is written by Harriet Beecher Stowe in 1852, and it was about the life sufferings, maltreatment, and hardships experienced by the Negro slaves under the hands of the powerful white Americans. And I know naman na he compared it to the slaves with the unfair treatment experienced by his fellow countrymen under Spanish colonization.
Ang sad lang isipin na sobrang tagal nang nakararanas ng racism and slavery ang mga tao sa kamay ng mga white Americans at Europeans na sumakop sa atin. They think highly of themselves for their own gain for power, to steal countrymen's lands and take control of their own lives, violating human rights.
Yep, that's right, partner. From all those thoughts, Rizal wants to write a book about it with his fellow Filipino writers in 1884 in Madrid. Kaso nga lang, parang mga babae lang ang nasa isipan nila, and naiinis lang si Rizal at nagdesisyon siya na siya na lang yung magsusulat na mag-isa.
Totoo, partner. Buti rin ay ginawa niya yun. Ang alam ko nga, ang dami nang napuntahang bansa nitong si Rizal eh. Dami niyang time. Dora the Explorer ang atake. Saan-saan kaya niya sinulat ang No Limit Tangere?
True ka yan, sis. So he actually started to write its first section in Madrid when he was still studying medicine, and then he continued it sa Paris, France after finishing med school. And then sa Berlin, Germany naman, kung saan ito ay ang pinaka-memorable sa kanya dahil doon ito na-publish. And with that, alam mo ba, muntik na niyang sunugin yung manuscript dahil sa sobrang gutom, and in fact, nagkasakit pa siya. So, gipit talaga ang ending niya, and buti na lang, bumisita yung best friend niya, which is si Maximo Viola, dahil pinahiram niya ito ng pera pambili ng pagkain, and para na rin ma-publish yung book niya, which is No Limit Tangere. And with that, he financed it, I think, the publication of the first 200 copies in 1887. Yup, partner, 200 copies, ha? You heard it right.
Grabe rin yung pinagdaanan ng Rizal bago niya natapos ang Noli. He really sacrificed and faced humiliating rejection from publishers. Kasi nga, controversial yung nilalaman nito. Basta, he did it all for the Filipinos. Dr. Jose Rizal really indeed poured his heart out in writing this novel.
Yup, tama ka dyan, partner. So let's now move on to the second volume of No Limit Tangere, which is yung El Filibusterismo nga. And fun fact, partner ha, alam mo ba kaya pinustryo ni Rizal yung pagsulat doon dahil nanaginip siya na mamamatay na siya. Like, parang pangitaan siguro ganon. Kaya parang he was no longer concerned about what may happen to him if ever na mapasakamay siya ng mga Spaniards and yung novels niya kasi ready na siya mamatay.
It is what it is pala ang atake ni Rizal noon.
Yes, tama ka dyan, partner. Parang gano'n na nga. Teka, speaking of atake, alam mo ba kung kaninong dinedicate ni Rizal ang El Fili? Actually, ito ay para sa 3 martyr priests na kilala bilang Gomburza o Gomez Burgos Zamora. Inatake kasi ng mga Spanish colonial authorities ang tatlo dahil they were charged with treason and sedition.
Yes, the Gomburza, who were the victims of the Spanish injustices and whose deaths are a lasting impression due to their unjust execution, inspired him to write this novel. Sinabi pa nga ni Rizal na he has the right to dedicate his work to them as victims of the evil, his enemies which he undertakes to combat.
Totoo, partner, but he had not written it with the intention of exacting revenge on his enemies, diba? But rather for the benefit of those who are in need and the traits of the Tagalog humanity. Actually, he wrote it with the intention of alleviating suffering, and he stood up for the rights of the Filipino race.
Tama ka, partner. Pero alam mo ba, partner, na hindi biro yung dinanas ni Rizal para ma-publish yung mga novel niya? Hindi niya ma-publish ito because of lack of funds. Buti na lang ay may Shining Armor siya na nag-partially finance the novel publication at ito ay si Valentin Ventura. Pero di pa rin enough yung pera kaya naisipan na lang ni Rizal na magbawas ng pages and fortunately, boom! Na-publish niya yung novel.
Yup, with all that he suffered, it is truly fascinating that he succeeded in getting Filipinos to read his novels, which serve as a wake-up call from the mistreatment of the Spaniards.
Grabe nga ang dinanas ni Rizal noon. Alam mo ba, Wenceslao Retana issued an article accusing the Rizal family of not paying their rent in Calamba. He was informed by his sister Saturnina that their family had been banished from their house and had been temporarily staying in Narcissa's house. Tsaka broken-hearted pa siya dahil nga engaged si Leonor Rivera sa Englishman. She played the fiddle in an Irish band but she fell in love with an Englishman. Linyahan ng Galway Girl by Ed Sheeran. Ang atake.
Oo, talaga. Grabe rin pala yung tinanas ni Rizal at na kanyang pamilya, no? And kaya pala ganun na lamang ang galit niya sa mga Espanyol para i-expose niya ang mga ito. But, well, deserve naman nila na ma-expose sa grabe nga na kasi ng pang-aalipusta nila sa mga Pilipino. Diba?
Grabing rizpol chika nga yun. Ang powerful naman ang pag-dig in natin sa Pastor Zeros. So, in conclusion, Both these novels are essentially literary works that helped to spark the Philippine Revolution. The novel provide comments on the social, political, and economic problems that beset the Philippines and portray Philippine society during Spanish colonial administration. Each stands out with its own style and tone that expresses Rizal's vision of a peaceful and liberated Philippines, even though they share similar themes and sentiments. Pero question lang guys, what is the comparison between the novels?
Noli Me Tangere is an eye-opener to the social and political situation of the country that shows abuses and cruelty to the Spanish colonizers. It actually focuses on the life of Ibarra, a young man who returns to the Philippines after studying in Europe. So, na-expose kasi yung struggles niya and brutal regime of Spain and the corruption that has plagued the country.
While El Filibusterismo is a darker and more in-depth reflection on the Spanish colonization, through searching for vengeance of the protagonist, Simon, and seeing the end of the Spanish rule. Ibarra reflects a man who tries to reform and change the systems, and Simon who seeks to avenge it.
Thank you so much, Miss Jersey and Mr. Joffrey, for your wonderful Rizal Chicas. Now, for our last segment, let me introduce to you Miss May and Miss Tej to discuss the struggles of the Filipinos in search for freedom and nationhood and the importance of Rizal's contribution, his sacrifices to the Filipino people, countrymen, and to the world.
As we walk through the last chapters of Rizal, let us embody Rizal's ambition, nationalism, courage, and excellence. With that, let us welcome May and TJ to walk us through Rizal's last venture.
Certainly, Rizal is indeed an embodiment of nationalism. Isn't that right, Tej? T-E-E-J?
Siyempre naman, May. In fact, why don't you start with the infamous Illustrados and give us a background of what it is?
So, the Ilustrados were the Filipino-educated class. They were the middle class noong late 19th century under ng Spanish colonial period. They were exposed to Spanish liberal and European nationalist ideals during their education in Spain. Pero, what stands out kasi is that this class was composed of individuals from different backgrounds, including mga Indios, Insulares, and Mestizos who were all united by a common goal.
Tama ka dyan, May. Also, Stanley Carnot coined them as the rich intelligentsia dahil karamihan sa kanila ay mga anak na mayamang may-ari na lupa. They were key figures in the development of Filipino nationalism. Their quest for reform aimed at achieving a more equitable distribution of political and economic power under Spanish rule.
Ay, wait lang. Uy, pero alam mo ba, in the first place, ayaw naman talaga ng mga ilustrado na magkaroon ng kasarinlan ng Pilipinas eh. Gusto lang nila ng pantay-pantay na karapatan para sa mga Peninsulares, mga Filipino-Indios, Insulares, at mga Mestizo. They aim for representation in the Cortes and economic reforms, including the secularization of parishes. But, as history often shows us, events took a dramatic turn in 1872.
Yes, May, the execution of 3 Filipino priests, Jose Burgos, Mariano Gomez, and Friar Jacinto Zamora, na mas kilala natin sila as Gumbursa and not Majoha, after they were accused of leading a military mutiny, ignited nationalist sentiment. This event, coupled with other repressive acts, marked a turning point. Rizal execution in 1896 further fueled the Ilustrados' determination.
Absolutely! Totoo! The Ilustrados found unity with Andres Bonifacio's radical katipunan, marking a shift from their initial stance. The pursuit of legal reforms transformed into a fervent desire for independence.
Grabe, May, mukhang gising at tanda na silang lumaban, no? Well, that being said, ano na nangyari kay Rizal?
Well, since Rizal is a Filipino missionary nga, he lived in exile in Dapitan, which is a remote town under the Jesuits' jurisdiction 1892 to 1896. Pero upon arriving in Manila on November 3, 1896, he was imprisoned at Fort Santiago. Ngayon, dahil naikulong na nila si Rizal, tinuon ng mga Spanish authorities yung kanilang pansin sa pagkakalap ng mga ebidensya na pwede nilang gamitin laban kay Rizal.
Ay, diba after niya noong November 20, 1896, ipinatawag ni Colonel Francisco Olive si Rizal para harapin siya at meron siyang inilabas na 2 ebidensya laban kay Rizal?
Tama ka naman dyan, Teach. Ang galing mo banda dyan. Natumpok mo. Ang galing naman talaga. Parang hindi inaatok pag may online class eh. Joke lang, dapat ano pala tayo, dapat maganda yung image natin sa podcast. Pero ayun nga, actually, after 6 days, in-evaluate ni Rafael Dominguez yung case at yung prima facie case na inihatong laban kay Rizal sa pagkakasalang rebellion and formation of illegal organization.
Tapos noong December 8, 1898, idinala si Rizal sa korte kung saan itinanggi niya ang mga paratang sa kanya. Sa pagkakatanda ko, the trial started on December 19, 1896, and he was found guilty beyond reasonable doubt and condemned to death by firing squad.
Pero dagdag ko lang Tej. He spent his last 24 hours in his death cell where he was visited by his mother and his sister Trinidad. Oh, di ba ang sad? Inabot ni Rizal sa kanyang kapatid yung lampara na naglalaman ng kanyang sikat na tula, Mi Ultimo Adios, kung saan isinabi ito ni Rizal sa wikang di maiintindihan ng mga gwardiya na may laman yung lampara.
Hanggang sa huling sandali talaga, napakatinik ni Rizal, no?
Well, actually, agree din ako sa iyo, Tej. At dumating na nga ang araw ng December 30, 1896 where he was executed in Paco Cemetery with no identification on his grave. But even though Rizal died, his story and especially his nationalism did not die with him. His efforts and sacrifices were not in vain. He was the flint that ignited the steel of nationalism amongst the Filipinos to fight for their land. O diba? Naks, panis, English yarn.
I completely agree with you, May. That can completely eradicate one's life relevance. With that, Filipinos have been known to celebrate People of Honor, which was amplified when the Philippine Commission approved Act No. 137, combining the districts of Morong and Manila to be named Province of Rizal.
That's actually true, TJ. Kaya nga maraming holidays na minsan pa nga nire-require yung mga students na mawala ng pasok, di ba? To commemorate the excellence of our country's heroes.
Basta pag walang pasok, alam na alam ha. Charot. Pero going back, alam mo ba na may evaluation para makonsider ang isang tao as national heroes?
Well, actually, kakalaman ko nga lang din na marami palang requirements at hindi basta-basta namimili kung sino ang national hero. Well, to give further information, the National Heroes Committee was established in 1993 to nominate historical personalities for national heroes based on their sacrifices for the country's welfare, methods for achieving ideals, moral character, influence on their age, nation concept, contribution to freedom and order, quality of life, destiny, recognition as a hero, and concern for future generations.
Grabe, napaka-detail naman pala para maging national hero. Though sana yung same strict evaluation, sana apply rin natin to pag naghahalal ng mga politiko, no? Joke. Though it is said that the criteria for national heroes will be checked against historical figures and politicians.
From the golden tree's roots, its mighty trunk, and all the way to its luxuriant branches of leaves, still standing 100 years from now, continuously living on to the fruit of knowledge and wisdom. That is how Dr. Jose Rizal's life and works has been, a tree that is so essential to people and their nation, to live and fight for the things that make us who we are today, to learn from the past and utilize it as our foundation to who we should be now.
Learning about the life and works of Dr. Jose Rizal enables us to appreciate the significance of his principles and teachings in light of societal circumstances and conditions of the present. By doing this, Rizal gave Filipinos the confidence to speak up even when doing so could put them in danger, especially in instances where the leaders of the society held beliefs that were in opposition to their own.
Understanding Rizal's life and contribution to society inspires the application of similar principles to contemporary societal and individual challenges. This further enhanced our comprehension and appreciation of everything Rizal fought and lost his life for. Given that Rizal battled to free the Philippines from colonial rule and establish our independence, it is now clear to all of us why he was deserving of the title of the national hero.
Rizal was able to spread his message and ignite a sense of nationalism among the Filipino people, despite the fact that his writings ultimately cost him his life. He eventually gave them the courage and inspiration to rebel against an oppressive government by teaching them about the world. This is one of the best examples of how the pen can be mightier than the sword.
You are absolutely correct. And with that, we've reached the end of our podcast. For everyone, we would like to thank you guys for joining us in the coolest history trip ever. These Rizal talks are really All you licking, good. Let's remember Rizal's fight for the nation's freedom and independence, as well as the way he carried it out. A bloodless struggle using the power of a mighty pen as we reflect on his martyrdom. Again, this is your host Zaki Ortega, and I am with Miss Charlene Anbanias, who led the blissful journey. Once again, this is Rizal's Quest, illuminating legacies and timeless wisdom. We wish everyone a warm and joyful Christmas. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time.